And it looks like now we got the timer going. I'd like to welcome everybody to A Girl, a Guy, and a Movie.
Shit. I turn it all the way down. Why does it do that only when YouTube comes on?
Oh,
I don't understand.
pro streamer moment. Bruce's error, not Janet's. Bruce's. Okay, so I'd like to welcome everybody to episode 31 of Girl, a Guy. Episode 31 of Table Breakers. Minus all the table breakers. It's just me and Janet. Hi, it's Bruce, and we're doing a girl, a guy, and a movie. Episode 31 for Running Scared, a fantastic film with Wayne Krammer as the helm, the director's chair. You've got Paul Walker, Chazz Palmenteri, Vera Farmiga, and young man Cameron Bright, now an adult. If that gives you an idea of how old this movie is. He's voting adult. He's in his 20s, maybe 30s, but this movie was made in 2006, I believe the same year that X3 was made. Cameron Bright's star was burning ever so bright. This is also a movie year where he did Thank You for Smoking and numerous other films. He was the it boy at the time. I need a child that looks so sad when he's just got resting bitch face. Cameron Bright, there you go. So, Paul Walker is in this film, and this is probably my favorite Paul Walker movie. Hi, Janet. How did you... is this your first exposure to this movie?
Yes. I've never seen it before. I can't believe I didn't. I mean, it was an action-packed movie. It had twists and turns all over the place. I thought it was really, really exciting. And I'm shocked I hadn't seen it before. And both the little boys did freaking awesome jobs.
Yeah, the little gazelle boy. And I don't think he's been in much ever since this. This was like his peak. You peaked in high school, son. He did really good.
He wasn't even in high school.
He was in high school when this movie came out, I think.
I don't know. Are you talking about the Walker's son? He looked maybe 10 or 11, maybe 12, if that.
But I thought he was in high school when this movie came out. He was portraying a young boy.
He looked like a young boy. If he was in high school, then he was getting teased.
Well, I'm just saying that, like, you can procure some people with good genetics. You can keep a gag going forever. And I'm going to point to Facts of Life. The Facts of Life was a girl story.
His voice hadn't even changed yet.
No, that's true.
So I don't think he was in high school.
This movie came out, and I didn't even hear about it. Then I go to Family Video. Hey, my Midwest people, you know about Family Video? Put a big FV in the chat. We have like 3 people on YouTube watching us, maybe a couple others on other places, but I'd like to say Family Video is my go-to when I'm in the Midwest, away from the internet, and that's where I would go to pick up my movies. That was like where I would go rent out my PS2 and PS3 games, and I would buy my PS1 games because they were, in a big bin. And I see this movie for sale. It's got Paul Walker. I flip it over. Chazz Palmenteri mob movie? Paul Walker? Okay. So I picked it up. And I took it home and I watched it. And I was just stupidly happy. And you know that feeling when you would discover something you really like and you're not able to function. You're just like, I like this movie. And I worked with a bunch of low-functioning people when I was a young man. And they would say things like this whenever they watch Rudolph movies or Frosty the Snowman or any of the Christmas specials. I like this movie. Yeah, Dollar Night video stores, 6 Nation, 31 Kings. I miss those. Like now all we have is Redbox, and it's not that good. Not that good. You could go into a video store and you'd spend all night there looking at the back box cover of every DVD case you came across. Is this good? Is this good? Do you remember that, Janet? Did you ever do that?
Not really. I didn't hardly ever rent movies.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
Well, I went to my parents, so they usually bought it, and sometimes they would rent, but most of the time they would just my dad. I told you my dad likes to collect things, and he would just buy movies. So
Okay,
he had lots of them.
I'm a big fan of that. That's something that I would do. We had in Portland, Texas, not Oregon. We had a Blockbuster right across the bridge from Corpus Christi, and you could go there in 2011, 2012, and go find whatever you wanted, and Blockbuster would have it. And I found this movie for my cousin on sale at Blockbuster because I already had a DVD copy, but I don't have a DVD writer, so I'm not going to make her a copy. And now I know the trick of doing this, but I got this movie for her, and her daughters loved it because it had Paul Walker and it had Vera Farmiga getting really great, really gropey on Paul Walker,
And he was getting gropey on her too.
I mean, that
I had to turn it off after that one scene in the washroom because I was like, I gotta go take a cold shower.
did you?
Pretty darn good.
I'll have to show you the extra scenes because somebody on YouTube, bless their souls, bless you, Ass Blaster 777. Thank you for uploading the running scared commentary, or not the commentary, but the special features, because you get to see everybody that was in the movie talking about it, and they all had a blast.
But the one thing that I thought was kind of funny about that scene, when he walks in behind her and she's getting clothes out of the dryer and she's got her thong on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And she's all scrunched down in front of the dryer and everything. And then, he starts groping her and stuff. And then he puts her up on top of the dryer. Okay. And she's got ginormous heels with heels that long on them. I was like, there's no way she had those heels on while she was scrunched down in front of the dryer. That low, the way she just wasn't. I mean, seeing her height and everything, it was just no way she had those shoes on when she was scrunched down.
This is a movie that was written by men. It was not written by a woman.
But she's a woman, and I think that I don't know. I would have said, this doesn't look natural. There's just no way that she could have done that. I mean, maybe she did. I mean, maybe she's shorter than I thought, but she looked like she's probably my height. So I went in there doing it with just my, low heeled shoes on, and the balance and everything, it would just be way off if you had heels on that like that. If you go back and look at her heels, but I guess they thought it was sexier to have her have those heels on while she was up on top of there with her legs up in the air. So yeah, but that was a pretty good intense scene. I don't know why they had to put it in there, but I liked it.
She's only 5'7", so she's a
okay. Then she could have done it, but she just looked like she's taller than that because her legs look longer. She's very slim and everything.
This movie has a lot of camera tricks in it, and Wayne Krammer did a movie called The Cooler with William H. Macy. Do you remember that movie?
No.
Okay.
Sorry, I was poor. I just didn't watch lots of movies. I watched them when I was at my parents' or one of my friends or whatever. I went to the movies sometimes, but just didn't get to go to lots of movies. And there was tons of movies back then compared to what there is today that you'd want to pay to go see. You know what I mean?
There's more movies in the past than there have been in the past 5 years that I want to see. And this movie, there was some nominees for this movie. They gave Cameron Bright and Alex Neuberger, the two young boys, Best Young Artist Award nominees.
Mm-hmm.
And they were nominees. They did not win. It was also a nominee for the Stinker for the most annoying fake accent for Paul Walker. He is not a New Yorker. He's not from Jersey. And the Golden Schmoes gave this movie a nominee for most underrated film of the year for 2006.
I didn't think his voice or the way he spoke or anything in this movie made him stand out like he wouldn't belong in a city, because a big city like that has tons of people from all over the place. So a different accent really didn't take me away from his character at all in any of the scenes that I saw in the movie.
James Whitaker was the director of photography, and I'm seeing if he was involved with Cooler. He was involved with Thank You for Smoking, another movie that was amazing. 2000. He was damn it. He was director of photography for The Cooler. Okay, so him and Wayne Krammer have a good relationship. But this movie is fantastic, and it's a movie where you have the opening scene is obviously it's a drug deal, and it goes pretty south real fast. Oh, hello, George Lucas and Bowsette. Oh, hi, Janet. What did you think about the opening scene that starts off in looks like a hotel room or a dorm room? What did you think about that?
Well, the opening scene that I saw was the boy and Paul Walker in a car, like they were running from the police.
That's right. They show
and the
that
little boy it looked like he was shot or hurt because he had blood all over his shirt. And then he pulls out his breathalyzer and uses it. And he's telling him to stop driving crazy, that he's gonna get him killed. He's gonna have a wreck. And then it says 18 hours earlier, something like that. And then it went to the other scene where they're all in the hotel.
That's true, and I forgot about that. I always forget they have the 40 seconds where Paul Walker demonstrates what Mustangs do.
And well, it was a nice car, and that was a picture car. You got to have a prominent picture car in the movie.
That's true.
But the scene where it was opening up and they went around, it was very crowded, but it looked like it was a hotel suite or something like that, maybe, or a big office in an office building, something like that. You know what I mean? Where it had a lot of room in it. You know what I mean? A roomy room. But the way they were set up, and the one guy was at the desk like he was testing to see if it was coke or heroin or something, some drug.
With the spoon involved, I was thinking heroin.
Do what?
With the spoon involved, I thought it was heroin.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't know enough about real drugs or anything. Most of the time, the cocaine, they would just taste it, I thought. But so I thought it was maybe heroin or something like that. But that whole scene I thought was pretty good. The setup of the tension, and then the whole thing. Then all of a sudden, with them, saying the people busting in to take the drugs, you didn't know whether it was just a rival gang or another mob boss coming in to get them off their territory, or if it was a sting operation. You really didn't know for sure what was going on. It was just intense. But to me, the tension level really didn't drop very much from the opening scene until this one, even when there was no action. But with the way the camera was like going around like that and viewing everybody in the room and what they were doing, and the angles of the camera too, I thought were very intriguing in the scene. Not so much, right in their face. It was a little bit lower where I had to look up at them a little bit. So I thought that was a very interesting way of viewing this scene that was taking place of this drug deal. I thought that was good. And the shootout.
Yeah, the bullet, they do like a bullet time or a real good slow-mo scene
Mm-hmm.
where you have a shotgun discharge and you see the shell tumbling out. And that was they show in the special features of the DVD exactly how they do the rigging for that and how they get the man to fly back. And it's a very well put together scene. The director of photography is just a damn Chad. He's great. And when I started watching this film and I'm seeing this shootout, I forgot about the fact that there was I'm not a big fan of old 60s and early 70s muscle cars. I wish I was, but the first 3 minutes you're in this scene here where Paul Walker's already got some bumps and scrapes on him, and there's people that are no longer part of this planet. They're going to get their forever box.
Yeah.
And the scene is kind of it's in actual, when you break it down into a tactical situation, it falls apart. But in the heat of the moment, the movie is shot so well you don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
When you get home, you have this situation here.
Yeah, but before he goes home, you gotta remember that they realized that there were cops, the ones that broke in the room, and that whole thing with the weapon, that they need him to take the 2 weapons and burn them.
And that's where this movie really started me. It got me whenever they're in the car and he's fidgeting, trying to get his package of gum open and trying to get the gum in his mouth so he can like just get away from this scene for a second. And then his mob boss pivots to him and hands him 2 guns, one a revolver, one just a pistol. And the fucking revolver was put into a cop's nutsack and a trigger was pulled, splattering that all over.
Yeah.
That first opening shootout is actually probably one of my favorite top 10 shootouts. It's in the realm of John Woo territory.
Yeah, I had I don't know. I don't want to go too much detail about my thoughts about any of the characters, really, about their relationships or anything, but I was just struggling trying to figure out who was with who, which group in the shootout room, where you had one group buying and one group selling, right? And I couldn't figure out which side Paul Walker's character was with. Were they the ones selling the drugs or were they the ones buying the drugs? So, that right there was, once he left and went home, I still didn't realize for sure what. All I know is that some cops got shot and the one lead guy said, take these guns and do something with them. Get rid of them. So,
yeah, when Johnny Messner's giving him the guns and bringing them back to reality, like, take these gats and get rid of them and don't fuck it up. That just, I've heard this before from people from that area, and I've got to say that, like, they captured it right. This might be a schlocky mafioso film, but they captured this guy's character correct. This was done right. His Johnny Messner is a fantastic actor, and he's pretty much a decent human being. But I've got to say, in this movie, he absolutely belts it out of the park.
Yeah, I thought he did. I thought he was really a believable character, from the little bits here and there that that he was like center stage. But I didn't know for sure. I just had a hard time as it went along. I felt like nobody trusted anybody. That not one person had the other one's back. You know what I mean? So it was like you couldn't sleep at night because you didn't know for sure if the guy that you just sold drugs with, was by your side and you were trying to defend yourselves in a shootout to keep the other guys from killing all of you. But you would want to kill each other every minute you see each other. You don't trust each other. I just had a hard time buying that you're in a gang and you do this kind of thing, but you don't, and you're going to fight to the death to save the people in the group, but you don't trust each other. I don't know. That was a really hard pill for me to swallow as the movie went through, was how everybody was like staring at each other, like waiting for them to turn on each other. You know what I mean? It was like that kept the tension high, but I was like, I didn't understand why this group of people were even together if none of them trusted each other to do those kind of, performances or whatever. I mean, because I never saw money change hand. I never saw anybody get paid. So they did all this stuff for what? What were they getting out of it? It was hard for me to get into that, and not understanding what, like what was the movie, the Expendables? Okay.
Yes.
They're all sitting around and they're all ragging each other and stuff, but they have a connection. They talk to each other like they were friends, and they actually gave a shit whether they're going to go out and the other one's going to die. You see, there was a reason behind them protecting each other. This group of people, as the movie went along, I never felt any connection whatsoever. Now, there was a connection between Paul Walker and the two boys that he wanted to defend them. And then he also wanted to defend his woman, and she wanted to defend the kids and him. You definitely got that overall feeling. But the lead guy, the boss of Paul Walker, and the other guys didn't even seem to have any care in the world for his team, that's supposedly making him lots of money or protecting his turf or whatever. I don't know. I just had a really hard time. I don't know if it was to me, it was more of the script or the plot didn't add anything to make you root for the group. I mean, you didn't even want to. I didn't even want to really root for the lead character, because I had a hard time understanding what his purpose was. But once the boy became part of it and why he was part of it, and I had sympathy for the boys right off the bat, because when they were playing around and the one got pushed, and when he showed him his back and it was covered with bruises, you knew he came from a home where he was being beat and abused. And I immediately, I started crying in that scene. I think I sent you a message that told you I'm bawling my eyes out or whatever. But it was like, the reality of child abuse, which is rampant around the world. And that whole aspect of it just, hit me like a ton of bricks. And I just wanted that boy to be able to, get away and have a normal life. But the more I saw what his life was like, it was like how this kid would ever survive and be a normal kid. I just had doubts. I could see why all these people would, where this kid was just going to end up like one of these guys if he even lives, So it was pretty gruesome for me to watch the interaction between the little boys, and then what happens later on in the show when the dad comes home and hides that stuff, and the boys are hiding downstairs in the basement.
See, I really thought the movie soared, because I've been in environments where you develop trust for each other because you drill and you train and you learn muscle memory with your friends and mates, and it just becomes you become a cohesive unit. This is not one of those situations.
Yeah, I know.
And you have an environment where they, like, when you're in the military, you have a definite end to your job. This guy over here, I don't think that's him. My bad. This guy plays the right-hand man to Arthur Nascarella. That's him from that same time period. He gained a little, and then he was in Running Scared, and he is the no. Come on, do what I need you to do, PC. Give me this. Yeah. And this movie has some really iconic individuals in it. You've got Paul Walker, Palmenteri, Farmiga, Cameron Bright, top four. Carl Roden is an amazing actor by himself. And he plays a very conflicted Russian mobster that's kind of kicked down to the same level that Paul Walker's Joey Gazelle is at.
Mm-hmm.
Mila Ugorski.
Yeah, it had a lot of really good actors in it, and the acting was really good for their parts.
Yeah, this is a movie that went under the radar. In 2006, it went real under the radar, and I think the reason why is the second act.
Well, was it rated R? I mean, what was the rating on it?
It was rated R. It was rated R, but it had a part of it that a lot of people just, when they saw that it had the second act in it, a lot of people clammed up. And that's where you got Des and Adele, Bruce Altman and Elizabeth Mitchell playing the kidnappers that Oleg sneaks into their van, avoiding Carl Roden and Anzor Ugorski, his stepdad, at a diner.
Okay. Yeah, see, I was going to say something about that, too. I was like, you get this kid at the very beginning, and he's playing with his friend, goofing off in the attic. I think they were in the attic or in the basement. It was a cramped little area where they were wrestling stuff. And that's when he sees the bruises, and his back is just covered with bruises. I mean, the kid is just beat to hell. And then you see the interaction with him and his mother, and she's very mousy, afraid, frail like woman. So you don't know at first whether she's just a drug addict or alcoholic. But then when the man comes back from the debauched robbery, drug deal, or whatever it was, and he's with her and he's belittling her and he's manhandling her and stuff, then you see him manhandle the kid. Then you realize that they're just both afraid of him. Yeah. So when the kid gets the gun to shoot this guy, it was a surprise to me. It was there was lots of twists and turns, which was made this movie very entertaining to me and filled with action. And plus the way they did the scenes, like when their family, Paul Walker's family, sitting at the dining room table and they're eating, and then you see the dad's dropping all his food in his lap, and he just sits there. He doesn't really, he's not saying anything, and you could tell he's got dementia of some sort.
Yeah.
But it was still, if you notice, their house was brighter in his house where they had the meal when she's in the kitchen and stuff, and then in the washroom it's a brighter rooms, and there's a lot more light in there. But then as soon as you go over to the other house, it's very dark and dingy, to add to the scene of the gloom and the doom that's going on in the home. That all that was just really sad to me, and I really felt bad for him. And them picking the boy with such big doe eyes to play the abused boy that's about to become a man, basically. He's right about his transition. Really was it really tugged at my heartstrings as a mom. I just wanted to grab him and hug him and just beat the fuck out of that guy. That's what I want to do. Excuse my language. We get in trouble for me saying that word?
Yeah, we give you like 5 social clear demerits, and you will have a delay on your Chairman Mao refrigerator. We won't be able to ship that until spring of 2023. And the Chairman Mao.
I was being serious. That's okay to say that sometime.
You can say the word "fuck" on my channel as much as you want.
YouTube won't get you in trouble.
We can go to Rumble.
Sorry, that's what I just couldn't help it. I was so angry when I watched that scene. I just wanted to bashed that guy's head in, which proved to me he was freaking phenomenal. That guy that played
I love Carl Roden.
the abusive dad did a freaking awesome job through the whole thing where he was involved in. He was very believable. He never seemed out of character or anything. I mean, he did a kick-ass job at making you want him to die, which is what I think his character was supposed to be. But his character arc was really good too towards the end, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
So
we're gonna talk about all of it. This movie's been out for almost 16 years, and if you guys haven't seen it yet, message me, get in touch with me. I will hook you up because that's what I do. And this movie, Wayne Krammer, I love you as a director, and I want you to make more movies, of course. But right now, finding a hard copy of this film is nigh impossible, and I don't like money going to Amazon.
But it was very, very emotional for me. But the way they did the scene when the kid does something happens over there, and then the bullet comes through the window while they're sitting at the table, and it almost hits the dad or the grandpa at the table with the spaghetti in his lap. And that's when Paul pushes his dad's chair back onto the ground, and then he jumps over, grabs his wife and kid, and pushes him down on the ground. And to me, that whole scene, I don't know, it seemed like he grew up around violence, or he was trained at trying to protect people or something. You know, he had an inkling there that he was either in a really bad environment his whole life, or he was specially trained as a cop or something. You know, that's how it just came across to me. That doesn't mean that's what it was, but that's just how I saw the scene. And then he had to run next door. But the one thing that really irritated me was the one son who didn't listen at all. Whenever they said, stay here, sit in the car, don't do this and don't do that, the kid did the exact opposite of everything his parents told him to do. So, which is almost realistic, you know, to a degree, because that's what boys do. I mean, they don't listen. If you say, don't go in the kitchen or don't get in that cabinet, that's the first thing they're going to do when you shut the door is go try to do something totally against what you try to tell them to do. But I thought all that was really good. And then when he goes next door, and that's when he realizes that the kids had that one boy had definitely got in there and got the gun, one of the guns they had hidden in the wall down
with the date on the gun for when it was used. And you realize, like, this isn't the only gun he's had to hide before. And all the other guns that are in there, all of them have dates on them as well.
Mm-hmm.
A hint for later. But this is and we're not a family show, Janet, so never feel like you have to, like, abstain from cussing. If you drop, like, a Lenny Bruce-ism, I will just have to send you, like, a half dozen, like, roses and donuts and maybe some box wine.
Well, I just got very emotional. It was very, I mean, from the opening scene to see the boy bleeding. So you don't know when you're watching the movie what happened to him. And it says 18 hours. So he something bad happened to him because he's got blood all over him. See?
And the Yagorsky,
I don't know what happened to him.
The lady who plays the mother of little Oleg,
mm-hmm.
She was supposed to be the character in The Cooler. We'll talk about this one later, but she was supposed to play Maria Bello's character in The Cooler because Wayne Krammer absolutely adores her. He thinks she's like the future of acting. He really likes her a lot. But she's too young for the role in The Cooler. She needed to be a cougar. And at the time, Mila was maybe early 30s. She's about my age. And so she was early 30s at this time, and she just could not pull off a 40-something. And so they cast Maria Bello in it, and they finally have this movie for her. And she plays an amazing role as a wounded mother who is in a bad situation with Oleg and her husband-ish guy. That guy's a monster. He really is. And she plays such a sympathetic character. She does find her strength. It's not the way you want it to, though. And
Well, it took a little while before we got a little background on where she came from and how come she was in the situation she was, because she wasn't just a typical housewife.
No, she's kind of a hooker for a while.
Well, she was a hooker, but he loved her. I mean, he didn't treat her like he loved her because he was just a thug. But in the end, when he makes a decision against his boss to not perform the act that he was supposed to perform, you knew that in his mind, it could be his kid. You know what I mean? They don't know. So he just can't go through with it because he cares a lot for the mother. And I think that he realized it when it was time for him to do something like that. He realized that was the end of his life, basically, as a dad and a husband, if he did this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
part of his life would be over.
He made the right choice.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the way he was forced into making that decision, and he just couldn't do it. He couldn't go through with it because he still had honor in him. See, that's what I mean.
Yes.
Everyone, I think, sometime in their life will have to make a choice, a good or bad choice. And for whatever reason they're put in that predicament, I really think that your true character is going to come out in those moments of whether or not, like what popped in my head. Now, this is going to sound, I know, stupid, but there was a crash and it was in the winter, and a plane slid off the runway and went into the Potomac. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
And then the people, and the ice was all jaggedy and it was all broken, and those people were splashing around and their eyes were open, and they were just splashing like that as they were frozen. And it was just their own body trying to just stay above water, but they couldn't close their eyes or anything because their eyes were frozen open. And there was that one woman, and they kept throwing a life ring out to her and trying to get her to grab it, and she couldn't. Her hands were frozen. She couldn't move. And that one guy just standing on the side of the bank, and that water, it was freezing cold outside, and there were all the cops, and everybody's all bundled up and have big coats on, and they're all warm. And he just takes his shoes off and dives in, starts swimming over to save that woman, a total stranger he never met. And at that moment, he risked his life to die from hypothermia to save someone. So that right there proved his character was good. He was a superhero, basically, a living one. So we all get put in some situation sometime, and it may not be as big as that or whatever. I'm just using it as an example, but something will happen, and your character will make you make the right decision. If you're a decent person. If you're just a thug, you're not going to have any empathy for anyone anyway, so it won't make any difference. But that's a good part about this story, is it has many positions like that. It's not just Paul Walker that makes these sacrifices either. There's other people with character arcs in the movie, and his wife's character, to me, has the biggest one in the whole movie.
Yeah.
And I think I would have done differently than she did, but I would have done the same thing that she ends up doing. I love that scene. That's my favorite scene in the whole movie. Revenge scene was just freaking phenomenal.
There's a part in the start of the movie where there's some camera trickery, and for those of you that have watched me for a while, you guys have to understand that Val is like, that's not fair. I have no empathy for anybody. Okay. I'm just going to say that there's a part where you're looking at Paul Walker, and that's not really the case. Paul Walker's got a twin. In fact, he's done a couple times for Paul Walker films where we need a twin, a stand-in for Paul. And there's a movie, this movie is one of the better parts of it, where you have Paul looking at himself, and the one that's not facing the camera is his brother.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the tracing of the bullet from one house to the next. That's how all that's put together. Once the breaking of the window happens, this movie goes on. There's two separate portions that we need to talk about. One is the actual track of the movie, and the other is the fact this movie retells through the looking glass. It really goes on to the journey of Alice through the character of Oleg, and Oleg goes through a lot of different things. And you even get to see this kind of retold yet again at the end credits, but we're going to ruin the movie, but you still need to watch it if you haven't seen it. It's that good of a film. It's enjoyable enough to where you'll want to watch this, and then you want to show people this, because this is a movie that your friends will be like, that was really a good movie. I actually looked for it on whatever streaming service, and I bought it for like $3 or $4 or whatever. And they'll brag to you about having this movie because they'll watch another 5 or 6 times in the next 2 months. It's one of those films. And little Oleg escaped. His brother did a lot. Both handsome guys, especially for the final ride in one of the Fast and the Furious movies where everybody says goodbye to Paul Walker's character. That's the only thing I hate about it. Like, everybody gets a turn on camera to say goodbye to Paul. And it kind of breaks your heart when you're watching at the time because it's still fresh. It's 2015 when this happens. And then you realize the movie is really not that good. Sorry. But this is a far superior film. But the final ride portion that Bowsette's talking about, there's a scene where they have Paul driving in his car away from the rest of everybody else in Fast and Furious movie. And it's his brother with his brother's face superimposed on it thanks to the wonders of CGI. Mm-hmm. And it just breaks your heart. Yeah, it wasn't that good. And I haven't watched a Fast and Furious movie since. I'm sure they've gotten better, but that's
why didn't they just use the brother to replace him in the movies instead of... Is his brother not an actor?
His brother is an actor, but I don't think he's that good of an actor, or he doesn't have the same smile for the camera that Paul did.
I mean, they're not twins.
They're twins, but
they're not identical.
Not identical. I believe they're fraternal, and they look a little different. But Paul's brother is good. He's a good guy. Like interviews I've seen, or people talking with him, he seems like a very good man. But he does not have that charisma that the camera can snapshot, and you have your wife or girlfriend just have a momentary fantasy of having him back in high school. He doesn't have that same attractiveness. He's more like the guy that, like, I'm the brother to the hot one. And that's exactly what he's got. But yeah, and Bowsette and I are again agreeing. We're in she's in the balcony with us. Don't care if they got better. It's not Fast and Furious without Paul. You're right. It isn't. It's a Vin Diesel rock movie. And I don't watch a lot of rock movies. I really don't. Back to this film. Oleg escapes from... After Oleg shoots his stepdad numerous times, from what it sounds like, Paul runs out, and you see some cops come in and start asking questions, and Paul is there to grab evidence. He's there digging a bullet out of the door jamb, out of the woodwork, and once he gets the bullet to tumble free, here come the cops. Sir, I need you to wait outside. And he grabs another piece of gum, chews it up, and then drops it out of his mouth and uses his foot to step on it, and then he grabs with the gum the bullet and he takes it outside, which I thought was an amazing piece of just visual storytelling.
Mm-hmm. And I thought that was very good.
Yeah, this movie's filled with a bunch of small things like that.
Yeah, and very good little details that they add to to the different scenes depending on the camera angle and stuff and how they use it. That was really good.
Anytime Paul's on screen, it seems like the movie is shot with a more realistic filter. because you get to see like his age lines and the scars he's got. But when it has Vera on screen, his wife, Teresa Gazelle, the camera seems to get a little bit softer. How's that? You're fading fast to too much pizza? Shouldn't have eaten that $5 slice, huh? I'm sorry. No,
I didn't notice that. I mean, in the scene where
they
they were,
soften up the angles with her on screen, I think.
well, the scenes where they're about to get it on in the washroom and stuff, he didn't really look any softer than he did before he entered the room to
I don't
me.
think they soften that scene up, but where she's alone, I think where she's caught in the camera, it looks like they soften the camera up a little bit. How's that? Thank you for sticking around. Headed to bed. You guys have a great night. Many hearts. Thank you. This movie, it seems to soften up with her. Like either the camera catches the light better, or she's just. I mean, Vera's a very attractive woman. I wouldn't consider her hot, but she's a solid. Like you have a friend that
That was
married
one of
her.
the things that I was going to say was it was nice to see just a normal looking woman that's pretty, but not, not a 10, you know what I mean? But
Yes.
a good 8 at least,
Yeah.
and a mom, and she dressed like a mom,
Yes.
sexy, but still not slutty.
No.
Because you get plenty of that slutty when they go to the nude bar scene where
Oh
you
my
see all the completely naked women running around. The only bad thing I didn't really like about that was I've been in nude bars before. I mean, Hot Springs, there's lots of nude bars down, in Louisiana, and in Arkansas, there's lots of them. But
Are they fully nude? That's the thing I gotta ask because
yeah, they're usually totally nude bars don't sell alcohol in them. I don't know why, but you can bring your own and pour it in your drinks or whatever. They just sell soda pops and stuff like that. Now, I don't know about in every state. I don't know how they do it. But yes, I have been in a bars. I don't like them because I don't want to sit anywhere.
Janet,
I don't want to touch anything because you don't know what
how do you
piece
function
of
when
body
you get
part
your
has been
hotel
on
room?
things. Do what?
When you get your hotel room, do you run around the hotel room Febrezing everything and spraying it down with
No.
neutralizer? You should, because every time I was in a hotel room, my balls hit every fabric. Okay, I would lay naked on the couch. I would lie on. Hey, multi-gun man. I would just do guy things, and that I'd mark the territory. And I think
Well,
that's kind of
I
what
dare you to take a black light with you the next time you go stay at a hotel.
it,
You'll never stay in another hotel.
I will. If I can afford to buy myself the Airstream I want, yes, I will definitely do that. I've got to say that when I was in a hotel frequent mindset, I was in the oil field, so you get hotels probably 2/3 of the time. We would go in there and nobody would talk about you. You never, whenever you needed a beer from one of your buddies or one of your coworkers, hey, go over to Bruce's. He's got a couple beers. Like they never came in past the refrigerator. They grab the beer, they leave because they know, and you all know. So I was. And I don't know. I don't think it was just me. I think other people did that shit too. Because like it's just what it is. Everybody when they get a hotel room, like, oh my god, I'm gonna be naked everywhere, dude. You're like the 7,000th person in this holiday room 131.
I just thought it was disgusting. I
Yeah.
mean, I always just stand in one place so I can see why. No. I mean, if they have underwear on, it probably wouldn't be so bad, but they're naked. I mean, completely naked. But the thing is, almost every girl looked like the same girl. You know what I mean?
This is the benefit and the detriment of filming in Prague. Okay, if you are in a Czechoslovakian country, expect everybody to look like you're Czech. Just expect it. Don't expect them to have like.
Well, I mean, the size of their boobs, the way their boobs look, their butts all look the same. I mean, you know what I mean? There wasn't like I didn't see any woman in there that had like an hourglass figure. They were all like athletic, volleyball players. That's what they looked like. That was it.
I wouldn't say volleyball. Volleyball girls usually have bigger, thicker butts. I have
Well,
an
I
entire
meant
folder of that.
they used their arms a lot because they didn't have any boobs. I mean, they had a little bit of boobs, but I don't know. I just thought it looked like the same cutout over and over again of the 5 girls that were in the scenes.
Yeah, that's
Except for the waitress. Now she looked different. She stood out away from the rest
the
of them.
waitresses always look different at these places. The waitress is always the richest girl at the strip club.
Apparently.
She's the
The
one
other
that
girls couldn't eat. They
the
hadn't.
other girls can't eat. They're up dancing. They're out there shaking their stuff. They're cramming coffee beans down their gullet and trying to stay awake because they've got 3 more shops. They've got to find some new undies because they've used these undies the past 6 weeks, on and off, and the laundromats.
None of them had clothes on, so they were all naked. So they just walk out, except for heels. A couple of them had some nice heels on, but that was the scene I figured all the guys would like. I mean, if they want to fast forward it to the nude stuff, it was a pretty long scene, I thought.
And it's a huge scene because, like, they actually filmed in a strip club.
Mm-hmm.
They did not film at. They didn't like go to a studio in Prague. No, the majority of this movie was filmed in Prague because of tax breaks. But they tarted it up enough to make it look like Jersey.
Yeah,
and then they give all the speaking parts to people that have been places and done things. Chazz Palmenteri. I mean, the guy.
well, it looked like an authentic. It was very gloomy and dark. That's what I'm saying. There was so much darkness. That's one thing I don't like. I don't like it's when it's so dark that you can't really, envelop the the scene and try to feel what's going on during the scene. The scene where they were in the actual cafe where the son gets out of the car and wants to go says he has to go to the bathroom. Now that was brighter, but it was still dark, had dark areas in it, but it was still brighter than, like even the outdoor scenes were very dark, So I don't know. I just had a really, hard time trying to get past how dark the scenes were. And I don't really like that. I don't like having to struggle to find out what's going on. But maybe I didn't have the whatever you call it, the tuning thing good enough to watch it because I had it too low or something. I don't know. But it just seemed dark to me.
The movie is shot intentionally like that. It really is shot intentionally to be a very dark, murky, gritty, grimy thriller. And most of this, I'd say 90% of the movie takes place at night.
Mm-hmm.
Oleg takes off in the middle of the night after he shoots Ivan Ugorsky, and he goes out and he finds this whispering guy first, which I'm looking for. Who played that guy? All right, whatever. I can't find it. But after he's used in a drug deal, he bumps into a hooker and her pimp. And this movie is a strong film for, like, you can't make movies like this anymore because there's so much male on female violence that this movie,
when the white guy punched the beautiful black woman and then he smashes her face into the broken headlight and stuff.
I thought she was Mexican.
Oh, she looked like a beautiful black woman to me.
Okay.
And she was really pretty, and she looked familiar to me. I wonder who she was. Did you know who the actress was that played the hooker?
Find out.
And the guy that played the pimp too. He looked familiar.
Been in a lot of movies.
Trying to find my paper with
the guy that played the pimp is David Warshawski. He plays Lester the Pimp. He was in one of my favorite movies of 2010 called Unstoppable, which is free on YouTube right now. Now, the Dallas De Leon, she played Davina, and in this movie, Davina is the blue fairy that rescues Alice and takes Alice from the horrible situation. And wow, she's and just on her IMDb, like They made her look ugly in Running Scared. That's all I'm gonna say.
But she looked really good in this movie. I thought her build was really good. I mean,
She's
she looked like a high class prostitute more
she's
than the streetwalker.
she's. I'm just going to say, like, of all the ladies in this movie, if you want to look at a hot one, Davina, played by Dallas De Leon, she's hot.
Yeah,
So
she was very, very pretty.
yeah,
And it was nice to have a short, small break in the movie where the little boy's actually getting sympathy and
yes,
compassion.
yes.
And that made me really like her character because even though what she just went through with that pimp and everything, and how he stopped that pimp from really doing damage to her because he threatened him with a gun. I thought that all that was really, really good, very believable.
Yeah, and
Especially the part where she's in the pharmacy and she's trying to get the little boy some meds, and she pulls the gun out to threaten the pharmacist because he won't do it.
this is
That
this
was
is
really good.
talking about David Warshawski. He plays the pimp in Lester the Pimp in Running Scared, but they don't have any photos of him. Only 21 photos. This guy's a fucking rock star. I mean, he is a hell of an actor. Been in NYPD Blue, did Signature Theater in New York. It's a good photo of him.
Yeah, see that one I recognize.
Yeah, yeah. Like he gets presented as the Mad Hatter in this movie, and the Mad Hatter causes Alice, played by Oleg, quite a bit of grief. But then the Blue Fairy comes along and gets her comeuppance against Lester, and you find out that she's trying to do something different. She's trying to do night school, and he decides that he's going to take some money out from her because he just spent $3,000 on her fun bags. And
Yeah.
that's when Oleg shows up and points his little snub-nosed Chrome 38, or excuse me, 357, my bad, his little snub-nosed revolver at him. And it's just a real good scene. And then, of course, the boy gets disarmed, and he's about to lose his life. And that's when Davina finds her strength and takes him, and then, makes the Mad Hatter kind of dazed for a moment. They get away, and she finds a pharmacy, and that's where you're talking about, where she's trying to I'm trying to negotiate for some baclavin. And she's like, I need baclavin, bitch. And the pharmacist is like, I'm just working at night. You don't have to get snippy. I'm following the rules. Please help me with the rules. And she points a gun at him.
Yeah, she doesn't even realize there's no bullets in it.
No, she doesn't. And this movie, it's a really great film because you can watch it a couple different ways, like a crime noir movie, or you can watch it as it's through the looking glass, because that's what it really is.
Well, the scene where Oleg, is how you say his name?
Anzor or Oleg?
No, the little boy.
Little boy's Oleg.
Oleg, when Oleg hides in the back of that van to get away from his stepdad, and you see the two heads in there, I knew it was bad news because I knew it had to be, it was a van for one, and then you got two heads, and the kids aren't like, what are you doing in here? Why are you hiding? They didn't even respond or say anything to him. Okay. So, I knew that that was a bad sign. So either they were dead or they were tied up or something. You just see the two little heads. So then when the doors open and the woman makes a comment about, look, we got another stowaway or something like that. And what she says, it was creepy right off the bat. So I knew that. I was like, shit, this kid can't get a break for anything. Now he's got child molesters. They're going to use him to make videos, or they're going to pimp him out or something. So I that was real easy to figure out for me. that one scene before they even took him back. But when they took him back to the apartment, it looked like a really bad. Okay, I'll just use this as an example. When I first got married, I was a teenager. I wasn't even old enough to buy booze or anything.
Sure.
But we got married in Orlando, and he took me to Orange Blossom Trail. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. If you were in the Navy, you probably know, because it was near the outside of the Navy base. And for a honeymoon, he took me to this real raunchy, cheap hotel with the red lights in them, and they had like the round bed and the neon lights in it and all that kind of stuff. Okay, but it wasn't just us, because my sister and her husband went to the trail with us. So they had the adjoining room to ours, so we could go in and out, and we were partying and stuff. So because I couldn't drink at the bar, we had to kind of like bring our own booze, put it at that. But that room that they had in that apartment, when you went in, it was just as tacky. And it just, neon lights were going off in front of me when I saw that room, and I knew for sure this was a place where they were going to make movies, because it looked like, it was as tacky as shit. I thought, what did you think of that hotel room or that apartment or whatever it was?
That entire scene is filmed with no shadows.
Yeah, it was bright pink, very
bright orange, bright pink.
Very complete opposite of every other scene in the movie. It was the brightness of it. It was very child oriented, to try to look childish.
Yes.
And but as an adult, all I could think of was a bedroom in the Playboy Mansion, with the bright chiffon, pink chiffon curtains, and the soft
curtain countertop,
leather couch, in the living room. And it was no personal touch at all. It was all like dollhouse looking. You know what I'm saying? So even the kitchen was dollhouses. It was just very. It's like they didn't really live there. It was just for them to stay there while they did porn or whatever it was, and that was it. So but when they were going through the closets and they had all the little costumes and stuff, I was like, oh my God, these people need to die. And then when the mother showed up, when Oleg was able to get the woman's cell phone out of her purse and call, she was like, thought he was, pulling her chain or whatever, but she believed him enough to where she went to the address that he found on the medicine bottle.
The herpes medicine bottle.
Yeah.
This is like so fucking creepy. And not to mention that Del and his wife, or Des and Adele, are knocking on like the sides of the windows, and they've got this weird the shower style glass bordering the bathroom, and their shadows are looking like Nosferatu.
Yeah, that's what I think they did that on purpose. It was like to show you the evil waiting outside. This evil one wall away from this boy, and the desperation of him wanting to get out of there. And the whole time you're thinking, you're hoping that that when she comes to help him, that she's going to help take the kids, because I didn't know if they were drugged up or whatever, because they just laid there. You could tell they were already had been through some pretty bad shit for them to have no emotions and just be lay there like lifeless droids or something. It was really, really, that whole thing. I was just bawling my eyes out. I just was like, I just wanted to kill both of those people. It was terrible. That was horrible. But you could definitely tell she was the one. She was the ringleader. If you want, if you get my drift,
Yeah,
the
because
woman.
during the whole time when
But
when
when
Teresa shows up and she starts telling the two what's going to happen, and she pulls the gun out, and neither one of them can get a hold of the gun because Teresa's just a catty fucking mom. She's very reflexive. She can see people trying to move in, and she's able to get her aggression back up to where she can get the gun, point in their direction, and get Oleg resuscitated. And finally, the entire time that's happening, Adele is looking at her husband Des like, "You fucking loser, take her out. Stop just rattling off things." And Des is like, "There's $100,000 cash. Just take the boy and leave."
and the diamonds, and he said there
Yes,
were diamonds in there
yes.
too.
Oh my god, yeah. And the entire time Adele's just looking at him like, "The fuck, you giving away our entire life savings to this?"
Yeah, for one kid.
For one child? He's not even a 2-star film. Come on.
So when she realized the sickness of these two people, when she saw the costumes in there, okay,
The costumes and the body bags.
yeah, and the body bags, she realized that when they were done, they were going to kill these kids, right?
Those
So
are
she
just
just,
body bags.
her mama bear came out, her claws came out, and she turned around and she got the phone and she dialed 911 and said, "I heard shots across the hall."
Mhm.
And then she just shot the shit out of both of them, which was yes. And I was like, I was just so excited. I just loved it. I thought that was a phenomenal scene. My
The first
favorite
time I
scene in
saw
the
it,
whole
I was
movie.
cheering.
To see those two child disgusting pigs get
No. I'm
what
gonna
they deserve.
say it. They were
Because
child molesters.
if they had arrested them, they in your back of your mind, you knew that nothing would happen. They would just, probably get a slap on the wrist and be right back out on the street.
You wanna help us with these kids? Get them to Epstein Island? Nothing would happen to them. It would have just been processed in the system and then let out. They're white collar, and then they get help with Epstein later. That's
It
it.
was disgusting, but that was a good scene for me. I really like the fact that she was able to do that.
Yeah, Teresa Gazelle has the strongest arc in this movie, and as much as I love this movie about Paul Walker trying to get a gun back, this movie really actually hits the female market. The female demographic comes in strong once Teresa starts doing things, because Paul is only able to do so much and he's having to bounce around dealing with his mafioso crew, trying to find the stupid gun, trying to collect all the bullets, trying to be evasive with things. And Teresa just starts, trying to hunt down Oleg. And
so I wanted to ask you a question. It was one thing I didn't understand about it until the very end. I think I understand it, but the whole time when he's looking for the gun, was he looking for it for real for the mafia, or was he looking for it that they needed it for the evidence after him doing that for so many years?
I think he was
That
actually
gun was needed to prove those people were involved in those murders, right?
correct. And at the hockey rink, we're gonna spoil the entire film, but you guys should watch it anyway. At the hockey rink, they bring Oleg and Tommy Toombs, his boss.
Yeah.
And then the Pirello patriarch is there, played by author Jay Nascarella, which he was in a great movie called Copland. But they meet up with John Noble. Yes, the Thane, or he's not the king in Return of the King or the Two Towers, but he is the sit-in that's taking care of the throne while everything's crumbling around them, and he's there demanding the halfling sing to him. That guy.
Yeah.
He plays the Russian mobster in this film. And
Yeah,
holy,
wasn't he in 30 Days a Night or something?
I don't know if he was in 30 Days of Night. Let me find out.
Wasn't he a vampire? The lead Russian that has the shotgun that's running the whole thing and just bragging about how they have the glow in the dark lights,
Yes,
neon.
he's
Can you
that
look
guy.
him up? I'm
You have
trying to
to
remember
do
what
this
his name was.
crazy shit to fill the seats in the hockey rink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what his name was.
Well, his real name is John Noble. I'm looking for 30 Days of Night. He played Denethor in Return of the King. 30 Days of Night. Come on.
Because he was like the leader of the vampires. I love vampire movies.
Nope, he did not play in 30 Days of Night.
Well, who was the vampire? Can you tell me?
I will look that up real quick.
Sorry.
Fine.
And I'm trying to remember the actor that played the lead in that movie. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Josh Hartnett?
Yeah. That's who it was. What was the guy's name? The actor that played the vampire.
Danny Houston played Marlowe. Ben Foster played the Stranger. Mark Boone Jr. played both.
Yeah, that's who I thought he was. The Danny Hudson.
Okay, Danny Houston.
That's who I was thinking that one actor was. That was in this movie. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
They look similar to me.
Do. But you get to meet Yagorski, who played Ivan Yagorski is played by John Noble, and he's the one pulling Anzor, the abusive husband to the Russian family next door to the Gazelles. He's the one pulling that guy's chain. He got his nephew hooked on smack or on meth or something, because they've got a shed in the back with a microwave and a bunch of shit that they're doing stuff. The guy's not sober throughout the film. And Anzor, like, I really feel sorry for him, because I know that feeling to love something and then to watch it die. Oh, wait, was that the story of Star Wars or the story of Lord of the Rings, or what else has been just in our modern era? But this guy had a Cowboys movie thinking that it was only 10 minutes long. And in the Cowboys movie he had over in Russia, where he's from, he sees John Wayne play hero and do heroic things. But in America, when he moves here, he gets a copy of the Cowboys. And at the very end of the movie, The Cowboys, we all know that John Wayne dies. And before this happened, he got a tattoo of John Wayne on his back. I mean, he really loved this movie. And so he's trying to share this love. Hey, Multi-Gunman. He's trying to share this love of this movie with the little boy Oleg. And Oleg likes this version better, because he hates anything that Anzor loves. And that's one of the things that causes him.
Well, because he beat it out of him.
Yeah, he
didn't deserve him.
Literally.
Yeah. Because that scene where he comes back down the stairs and he has his mother down on the floor and he's pushing her face into the food that she had made.
Yes.
That the boy had dropped on the ground when he was getting beat up by his dad or his stepdad. When that scene, and he just said, the little boy said that John Wayne was a fag or something like that.
Yep.
He said that on purpose to get the dad to stop abusing his mother so that he would attack him. So that was part of his character arc, was the fact that he just hated him so much. He just wanted, he didn't give a shit. I mean, he was pretty much ready to just end it all, He was just waiting for the right time for that guy to take him out, basically. Because he felt like he didn't have any choice. He didn't have nothing. You know what I mean?
He didn't have any choices in this movie.
So
it's
that's why I felt so bad for him when he got that couple, and he looked around the room and he knew. I mean, because he was already street smart to a certain degree
Mhm.
that these people are messed up and they're going to really mess him up. Worse than what he's been getting beat by his stepdad. What they were going to do to him was going to be way worse.
And that entire second act is probably the strongest part of the movie. As much as I love the third act, because you get to meet the Yagorski patriarch, you get to see a lot of things resolve, and you also find out about Papa Gazelle, the grandfather at the Gazelle household.
Yeah. And how he became a vegetable, basically.
It's not a fun tale. And
No, it was really sad. But that right there, when he said that tale, and then you find out later on when he was telling the one guy that he's been undercover for 12 years.
Mhm.
Okay. How did he ever get in the position to be in the CIA or whatever it was he was in, FBI?
He's just a cop, I thought.
Oh,
He
I
was
thought
a
he
cop.
was in like a special thing for 12 years to be undercover as a cop. I just didn't seem believable, but the FBI or something, it sounded right. But how do you get a job like that when you've beat your dad almost to death while he's in bed with a hammer or a bat?
He used a Louisville Slugger, if I remember right. I don't know how he got that, but that was
Unless
some
the mom unless the mom covered for the son and said that it was robbers or something.
that could have
Because
happened.
remember, he said his dad never recovered from it. He never was
No,
able to really do anything after that.
and we get to see that he can't keep spaghetti on a plate.
Well, he couldn't take it from the plate to his face and
No,
eat it.
he
So,
spilled it everywhere, and that's what causes him to lose it on his father at the start of the movie. Are you taking a collection up down there? And it felt
well,
like
in a way, to me, once you heard the story about what his dad used to do to him, and
yeah,
that's why when he started finding out about the boy, why he wanted to help him is because he knew that that kid was going through the same shit that he was going through with his dad,
yes,
which was his real dad, not a stepdad. But so he had empathy for him and wanted to help him. But uh, he really needed that gun because that was everything he'd been working for all this time, lying to his wife to
hmm
do was for that. He needed that gun. That gun was the whole key to solving all of it and having evidence to lock these people up, these big wigs or whatever, if any of them were still alive when he were done. But all of that I thought was really, really, really good, very well. The scenes were very, very believable and bloody. I mean, if you want to see lots of blood, the whole scene where he's in the ice rink
hmm
and they're hitting him with those hockey pucks. Oh my God, that was just excruciating. I don't know how.
That's the only unrealistic part about it, because a hockey puck should have broke his nose. It should have took out his mandibula.
It
It should
looked like it did. Did you see how much blood was underneath his face? I was shocked he didn't pass out or die from it.
he didn't really bleed out a whole lot in the face, I thought, because it
But
was
did
only
you
a
see
hole about maybe a
there was a
foot.
puddle bigger than his head
Oh yeah,
of blood?
the foot, they had a foot diameter of blood under Paul Walker's head. And
Yeah,
the thing about that scene is that that's a real ice rink.
yeah.
Paul Walker's face is being pushed for 5 hours on an ice rink, and he's not bitching between takes.
Well, because he loved acting.
He loved this movie.
Yeah, so there's lots of actors that love their job and they're willing to sit and do whatever scenes over and over again to make sure that it's the what they want it to end up to be.
Yeah,
So uh,
there's three shots he takes to the face, and that's the only part of the movie that I didn't like. Well, two parts of the movies I didn't like. That one was like the first shot of the face where he catches it at the bridge of the nose. I thought like his nose should be a little bit more deformed. Like the makeup department failed me at that point. The blood was good, but I need makeup to come in and dent that face up a bit, because his nose should be like it's a past tense. He should have had
Well, to
like
me, it looked like it hit him in between the nose and the eye,
yeah.
like that little dent there.
Mhm.
And it looked like it tore it up pretty bad to me. It looked very believable.
The
And
blood.
the other one was on the side of the face, and that looks very believable to me. So I
This
thought I thought it was really, really good. And the amount of blood that was coming out, and the fact they made it like thicker, you know what I mean?
yes.
It they looked like the blood thickened after it started coming out instead of it just being like gushing water blood, which
Mhm.
I've seen in so many movies. It's like, oh, it's the same shit over and over again. It looked more realistic to me, the way that the blood was coming out of his face and pooling underneath him.
And
Um,
go ahead.
no, and when they pushed his face down in it and stuff, and he came back up, he had blood and it was spotty. You know how real
Yeah.
blood is coagulates and it's spotty looking. It's not just like a smear of paint.
Why?
Looks way different. And I thought they did a very good job at making it very realistic. It was very and if I had a weak stomach, I probably would have thrown up, I think. It was pretty gruesome. But it was a great scene and him crawling across the ice and
Mhm.
stuff to try to get that other weapon and this, and then you had the other fight going on between the two big bosses.
Mhm.
So, and the whole story that Paul Walker was telling the other boss, it was his boss,
Yeah.
okay, about telling the big Russian king guy another story about his boss and the son, trying to set him up to get revenge because nobody trusts each other. It's like I said. So you had um now you had the two big bosses wanting to go at each other because neither one of them trusts each other. And they think that the other one's trying to backstab them, even though they weren't. I think it was just Paul came up with that idea, not Paul, but Joey's character came up with that idea to try to help them, give them some more time that maybe they could get out of there.
And that's basically what happens because it turns into a scrum at that point. I mean, all three factions go at it. Paul and or Joey, Gazelle, and Oleg are there in the ice, and the ice skaters and some of the low level thugs are going after them. You got Sal and the other Perello, Senior Perello, and then little Tommy Perello. Those three guys start getting it into with the Russian mobsters off to the side. And when Perello Senior goes after Ivan, that was like the best part of the movie for me because watching two old men fight over a shotgun is such joy. I know that sounds terrible, but these
Yeah,
two
and then one stands up with a big, you see a big flash of light and a loud bang.
John Noble stands up with half his guts dangling out,
Yeah,
and
and
he
then he
just
falls over the
walks
side.
over. Oh my god, that was so good.
And the part after that, when the other one gets up and he wants to kill Paul Walker because he basically got his son killed
You
by
got
that
my
other
son
guy.
killed. Yeah, I.
Yeah.
Uh,
So all of that was very intense, and it was nice to see other people, and it wasn't just Paul Walker getting the crap beat out of him or whatever from the other people, but it was a few other people all getting the crap beat out of them, which is shows that there was a lot of disloyalty between them and that people didn't trust each other. But the whole aspect of the whole ice rink was pretty cool, especially
yeah,
with the neon lights or whatever you want to call them, the
they had the blue
glow in
dark.
the dark.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
anything any red would be highlighted, and so like all the blood got highlighted from the lights, and they thickened up the blood to get the sanguine thickness just right for the camera. It looked so good. Did you eat
Yeah,
right after the movie? I
I thought
did.
that was a really good scene. And but the when it after all that happens and they get in the car and they leave after the other people broke in or whatever. What do you call them?
Make their way in.
Yeah, the other agents or whatever. When he's outside
Mm-hmm.
and they come and he says he wants to go home. Okay. So, and then you think he dies or whatever at the end because of all the stuff that's going on. And then at the very, very ending, when as soon as I saw the car there with the hood up, I knew he was alive, even before we
Yeah.
saw him.
I,
So,
I pull the trick whenever I show this movie to people that I know, because I will stop the movie after Teresa buries her face in Joey's chest, thinking that he's dead. I just stop the movie. The movie's over. And then, like a day or two later, if I get the chance, I'll show them the actual like follow up to that, where Joey's alive, and then you have the end credits, which show all the scenes drawn very weirdly, like it's a graphic novel for Through the Looking Glass Darkly, which is what this movie is an analogy for. But you have that, and I get usually punched in the arm or sometimes in the face because people are like, "Fuck! I thought he died," and I'm like, I was kind of hoping he would, but the movie is what the
well,
movie.
when we saw her standing at the funeral services, all I
Yes.
was thinking was, she's going to adopt the other kid and
Mhm.
keep him because his mother's dead. She blew herself up in the meth lab, because she thought her son was dead and she was never going to see him, and she blamed herself for
Everything.
everything that happened to him. So she was too guilty. She couldn't live with it, so she just blew herself up with the meth lab crap, and so he was alone.
I
And
like.
after what she did to save him from that sick couple, I don't see why he wouldn't want to be with her because he trusts her, I'm sure, after that. And he gets to live with his best friend.
Yeah.
So that to me was a really good part. Even though I thought he had died, I knew that the kids would get to be together and that she would take care of them.
But
So I was just a little bit more happy when I realized when I saw the car that he wasn't dead, that he was still alive. So I thought that was a really good. I like that ending of that.
and this movie hits a lot of good notes. It is kind of stereotypical, but it does a really good job of showing you an entertaining film that hits a lot of different notes that most movies will not. And I think this is something I've been saving up for this for about 2 months, because we had some themed months we wanted to get through first, like fantasy month and horror month. And this is my first choice for you to view. Uh, would you recommend this movie to family or a friend?
Yes, I think it's a really, really good movie. Um, Now, I would only recommend it to people that can handle some of the violence that's in it. I know a few people that would not want to watch it because this is so bloody, it's gruesome, and dealing with the part where the child abuse and stuff like that is really tough to take. But any guy that I know, most of the guys I know would all want to, I think would really enjoy this movie because it's got everything guys want. It's got lots of TNA and lots of people getting their ass kicked and lots of guns and car chases.
I have to agree. I mean, this movie hits all the notes for me, and I know that sounds like, wow, Bruce, you're really basic. Well, get over it. I think this is one of Paul Walker's finest films, and it's such a shame that he's no longer here with us. But he gave us this movie. He gave us some other really good films, and if there's a chance for people in heaven to hear us down today, I'd like to say thank you for giving me at 2 hours at a time a way for me to escape and watch something that's just fun, because this movie it's not everybody's bowl of fun, but it's Bruce's bowl of fun. This movie was in my top two films for like years, up until probably 2012, and I started going back further with more John Carpenter stuff. But This is a fine film. I want people to watch it. I'd rate it 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I would give it an 8 is what I would give it. Um, just simply for there's lots of little things here and there where I had a hard time trying to understand the reasoning behind it. Like the scene where the other menacing guy that rides around with the mob boss's son, and they're following them through the whole night. That's another thing that was so weird. It's like, why do they stalking this guy? I thought he was part of their team. I mean, that whole aspect that I started with from the very beginning is I just had a hard time understanding why. This is supposed to be like a group of people that are fighting other groups of people for territory, and that you got to trust each other. So I had a hard time with all that inner fighting part of it, and that was really hard for me to really understand why it was even in there, that they wouldn't be more palish instead of just down each other's throats all the time. Then when the son of the mob leader or whatever, the white haired mob leader, when he shot the other guy in the head, it was for like, you know even though he said he was cheating or whatever else, that doesn't mean he was. It just means all it did was show me that he was just a spoiled, rotten brat and was jealous of the guy, or wanted, or maybe he was doing something and it gave him the blame for it, so his dad wouldn't be mad at him for doing it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, I don't know. I just didn't like that whole aspect of how nobody trusted anyone. There was no trust, inner trust. So I don't know. I had a really hard time swallowing all of that part of it. But the acting was really good. I thought the concept of him and his woman and the boys was excellent, and I thought the little boys did an excellent job for both their parts. Very, very believable. And the scene with the two child molesting pigs or whatever was my favorite scene in the movie, when she gets to take out the trash. So I really thought it was really good. I definitely would recommend this movie for anyone that's into shoot 'em up, action packed movie like that.
Hey, Janet, I need to be off cam for about 2.5 to 4 minutes. I'll be
Okay.
right back. I'm going to blow you up.
Well, I was going to ask you if you could play it. Are you allowed to play a trailer on here?
Let me come back and do that.
Okay.
I'll have to pause it, so we have to do the fair use stuff. I will be right.
No, sorry, it's just me and you guys. Not much I can do about it. I don't know. One thing I don't remember anything about in this movie was I don't remember any music. I tried to pay attention to it, but I was so busy trying to understand what was about to happen in every scene, because there was so much happening, and they were jumping across the city. Each scene was in a different location just about. And because he was traveling through the city to try to find out where this gun went, and it kept changing hands between the people that were taking it from each other, and he needed that gun to prove that that gun was used in these murders, to be able to seal the deal with, I think it was the FBI, but maybe that wasn't. He was undercover. He was an undercover police officer or something. I never did. I don't remember when somebody said who they were or whatever, but that whole aspect, it was very, very good. But I don't remember any music. I don't remember. Normally, you can hear the music in the background as it's going up and down. As your pulse, it's going up and down. But I don't remember any music at all in this movie. So either it was so intense that I just blocked it out, or it just blended in so well with the action scenes and stuff that I don't even remember anything about it, because I definitely did not remember any music, which is really shocking to me, because most of the time I always can pick out the music and whether or not I feel like it goes with the scene or not. So that was really hard on me. But I do recommend this movie. It's very good. If you're into action, drama, this is the movie for you. I think you would really like it. And if you like these certain actors. But I thought it was good, and I would watch it again. And I probably will watch it again just so I can watch it without having to try to write everything down, trying to remember what happens exactly and why they're doing these things, and just enjoy it as a regular movie, to get to watch it and enjoy it for the fact of a relaxing evening, to be able to enjoy an action-packed movie to take me away from reality. And hopefully one day I'll get to do that. But that's it. That's all I have to say about this movie. I can't think of anything else besides go see it or rent it. If you can find it. I don't know where you'd find it. I had to have Bruce send me a link so I could watch it, because I couldn't seem to find it anywhere to watch it.
There's a few things about the film that, like, it took me a couple watches before I realized this movie had music to it.
Yes, that's what I was saying. I didn't remember hearing any music at all because I was so enveloped in it. I just, and then after I was finished and I had written a couple notes, I was like, I don't remember any music at all in this movie. So where do you remember music being? What scene?
Well, the music happens primarily as a vessel when he's driving the Mustang. When he's going from one place to another, you hear the dun 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 dun, and
I'll have to go back and watch it again, because this was the first time I watched it, and I just, from the when I was messaging you, you were asking me what I thought about the movie, and I said I'm not done watching it yet, and I was in the middle of that one scene where she had just shot those people. And I was bawling my eyes out because it was so sad, So I don't know. I wouldn't. I don't. I did, and I still don't remember any music.
See that
But
part
it
of
was really good.
the second act. I don't remember any music in the second act at all. I don't remember any music at that point. There's some like fanfare or some real heightened like anxiety music during the scene where the little Oleg is in the bathroom and the Nosferatu are outside the windows trying to get in, looking in at him, and that's pretty like reasonable, because there should be like the panic music going on when you've got a fucking Nosferatu outside, and that's what it's supposed to be. It's well done.
But that was one of the reasons why I was trying to understand one part of it. And it was the part where Oleg is standing, Oleg, whatever his name is standing in front of the sink in the bathroom, and he's trying to reach up and open up the medicine cabinet. But to me, he was tall. To me, I couldn't understand why he couldn't reach the medicine.
Oh, that entire scene is completely out of proportion.
Yeah, I felt, because later when the wife or when the mother is in there and she opens the bathroom door and the husband's standing there with his robe on and he's flossing his teeth and he's standing in front of the same place that boy was just at trying to get that stuff. It just seemed it didn't make any sense. It was like, why was he struggling to have to jump up there to try to get those meds? See what I mean?
Well, no, it was everything in that scene is meant to be out of reach, just out of reach for you, Oleg. You're just supposed to lay here and let us put this little costume on you and drink this medicine or the syrup, or drink the soda, and just if you get tired, you can just lay down and just let it happen. And it's meant to be just a complete and total mindfuck, which I think is perfect, because that entire scene, that is the most perfect scene I've ever watched, where I thought that has a complete character arc from start to finish. And I know that sounds weird, but that they have a spattering of songs. There's a half dozen songs in this movie that they play, and then they have the main theme, and that's about it. But that
But the
main
thing
theme,
is, the music to me was so low, it didn't to me, it didn't add or take away from any of the scenes because it was so low.
we will disagree here because there's
Well,
some
see,
part.
I didn't notice it at all. So if you don't even notice it's in the movie, I mean, then to me it didn't make an impact to me because I didn't even notice it.
When you watch it again, you're gonna hear it and you're gonna be like, okay. And it primarily pops up during the scenes where there's a transition from one scene to the next where he's driving from one point to another, and that's mainly it. There's a little bit of background music because of like songs are in the background, like whenever he goes into the Mexican's apartment and he's looking for the guy that's got the fucking revolver and who's got the MacGuffin, but no, the guy that just left. Well, who's he talking to? Well, the guy that just left, he's got a conversation with the Mad Hatter going on, and the Mad Hatter says $500 and that's mine, right? Yeah. And so now Joey has to track down the Mad Hatter because the MacGuffin
Mhm.
keeps switching hands, and it's
Yeah.
perfect. And I love how that happens because this movie does not let you get comfortable.
No, that's what I'm saying.
It,
It was a roller coaster ride, the whole thing. But from the movie that we watched last week, okay, which was The Thing, from
yes.
the opening scene in that, where you see the helicopter coming, you hear the thun 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 thun
Yeah.
thun 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 thun. It's subtle, but you can still hear it over the helicopter noise and everything else. This movie was not anything like that to me. It
No.
was so low that I didn't even notice it because I was so involved in watching what was going on in the car scene at the very beginning, all the different scenes, the scene where all the guys are in the hotel room, doing the drug thing, and then the
Mhm.
other people bust in and there's all the shooting and everything going on. I just don't remember any music. And when it was after I was finished watching the movies, and at the very end, when you see the whole reenactment drawn out,
Yes.
okay, for the outgoing credits, that's when I hear music. So it was like that's when I was like, I don't remember any music in this
There's
movie.
about four
So to
times where that
me,
theme pops up.
it was lackluster. It had to have been lackluster music because I didn't even notice it. I definitely noticed it in The Thing, but I didn't notice it in this movie. So I'm just
I
saying
think you might have a difference of opinion after you've watched it a
that's
second
fine.
time.
I mean, I'm gonna watch it again. I'm gonna try to sit down and watch it again with no distractions or anything, and see what I thought the second time around. Because I mean, I don't think I've watched a single movie before this one where I didn't recognize some music somewhere, in the movie. So it's my
I
first
get
time
that.
that's ever happened that I remember. So
I think the score is really subdued on it, but there's a few scenes where like you can hear the main strings being hit, and you'll recognize that, but you have to be made aware of it because this movie does have a very subdued score. I will say that it does not have a bombastic John Williams esque theme running through all of it. It's very subdued, and once you hear it, then your brain programs it. But you heard it right at the very end credits. Now, when you
yeah,
watch it again, you'll be on the lookout for that, and I can almost guarantee you're going to be like, okay, I heard it 3 or 4 times, like you said,
yeah.
but you're
Well,
gonna.
I'm sure I will. I'm sure I will now that I don't know. It just shocked me when I was finished and I was listening to the at the very end, the music playing and watching the scenes happening again in the drawings of it.
Yes,
And then as it named the characters and stuff, and I was like, I don't remember any music in this movie. So it just hit me weird because it's never happened before. So um, to me, I just didn't notice. I just didn't notice any music, but I know there had to have been music in it. I just didn't notice it because it was so toned
this
down or something.
this movie does hit different. I will say that it's not a standard Hollywood movie. Do you want to know some trivia about it?
Sure.
Okay.
I
Well,
mean, you already told me something. I didn't know that he had a twin that was in the movie. Just like with Natalie Wood. Remember, her sister stood in for her in a couple of spots so they could finish the movie because she died in the making of that movie that we watched.
I love that movie.
So.
I'm sorry, it's got Chris Walken in it, and the lady who played in that, damn it, who's the character?
The scientist?
Yeah, Nurse Ratched. She just passed. Hold on. I know we're bunny trailing. I know. One, two. There you go. Louise Fletcher just died.
Oh, recently?
Recently.
Yeah,
I didn't realize this. Like I was sad to find this out. This happened in September 23rd. She died in France. And she was such a good actress. Ugh.
Yeah, she was. She was good. That was a good movie too.
Yeah, I like Brainstorm. She was also in Virtuosity. I forgot about that. Mm-hmm. Okay. For Running Scared, trivia time. Disheartened by the film's box office opening, Paul Walker returned home from dinner to discover that Quentin Tarantino had left a message on his answering machine praising the film and Paul Walker's performance. Paul was relieved and happy that someone like Tarantino enjoyed the movie. I could completely see Tarantino showing this movie off on a big screen.
Yeah.
Wayne Krammer was shocked to find out the movie got an R rating on the first submission. He states in commentary that he thought he would get an NC-17, but luckily he did not.
Yeah, when the sex scene at the beginning was really, pretty good, but when I saw the naked, not just, butt shots and boob shots, this was
they're parading it around.
Frontal nudity from women, and so I was like, this definitely has to be rated R or higher, because I just was shocked that it's just been very rare that you see complete nudity in a movie like that. I was surprised.
And the part about that movie, the scene leading up from the parking lot with the boy and Sal and all that, the transition from when you see the naked girl on the, not naked, but the neon dancer dancing.
Yeah.
And then it transitions into the stripper.
Yeah.
Holy cow. That right there is worth the price of admission, because the camera trickery used in that. And you gentlemen will really appreciate that. Now,
there's a lot of nude women in this movie, in that scene for sure.
I didn't mean to show you a film that, like, this movie's in my spank bank. No, I didn't want to do that, but I wanted to show you a movie that it was about, if I would direct a film, I would use this as my template, because it has about everything in it at the right level. It does have a lot of nudity in it in the first act, but it kind of tapers off. In the second act, there's no nudity because it focuses on the kids, thank God.
Yeah.
And that scene is more profane than the stripper, than the strip joint.
Yeah, the whole scene, to me, the whole scene with the little girl and the two boys, and the grown-ups, and the way, even though it didn't show anything, it didn't show any type of nudity or them in their undies or anything. You didn't have to. No. This shows that if you do you have the right props and the right script and the right director, apparently, you can have a scene that is so horrendous, you feel so bad, and you get so gut wrenched over it that you're rooting for them after they shoot two people,
Yeah.
because you wanted them to die. Just the thought of what they were doing to those kids was enough. And it puts a picture in your mind, just visual effects by using props. And I thought that was amazing. That scene was phenomenal. It's a very leading, very leading scene where it leads you right into it. And you just want her to see her get justice, and she does. And I thought it was great. So that was my favorite scene in the movie. Kudos to Vera.
Yeah, Vera Farmiga is an amazing actress, and she's done a lot of good movies. One of my other favorites she's in is called Source Code.
I haven't seen that one.
Okay, well, put that in for next year. Along with that, the squibs. There's a handful of CGI scenes, CGI squibs that go off because Bruce Altman, the guy that plays Dez, the real nasty man in this movie, he's terrified of squibs because when you have to wear them, you're going to get a little sting when they go off.
Yeah,
just going to happen. But he's terrified and never been strapped in before, so instead of getting his shock face, they said just act like you've been shot and fall backward after you've been hit, and we'll do the CGI.
Yeah.
His wife in this scene is wearing squibs. So he's not only a pussy in the movie. I'm kind of ashamed he's got my name. Okay. Thomas Jane was supposed to be Joey Gazelle.
Yeah. I like Thomas Jane.
I like him quite a bit. There's a schedule conflict at the time, and Tom Jane was not going to do that. Big Thomas Jane fan, but I think my favorite movie he did was probably The Punisher.
I loved him in that, and I loved him in The Mist.
The Mist is what he was working on at the time, I believe. Either that or Medium. One of those two.
Yeah, and he also was in that new TV series, wasn't it? The first season of it.
He's in The Expanse.
The Expanse.
Yes. Yep.
He was really good in that. And he was also in a TV show called Hung, where he played a male prostitute.
I didn't know that.
And his pimp, you gotta watch some of it. It's good. Okay. His pimp was a school teacher because he was a school teacher on the side. And he couldn't make enough money. So his one of his other teachers that he worked with was like, you're pretty hot. You could service older women or women and make a lot of money. And then she's like, well, let me see what you got. It was hilarious. It's really, really good show. I thought it was good. I can't believe it didn't last very long, but it was good. Mm-hmm. I guess not as many women out there willing to, get a subscription so they can see men do what men seem to like a lot of the women to do or something. I don't know. I guess there's just not enough women to.
I'm surprised though, because Tom Jane is skinnier than Paul Walker. And you see that in The Expanse. He dropped weight in that TV show.
Yeah. Well, he was in better shape back when he was married to the woman that was in the TV show, The Medium.
Yes.
I can't remember what her name is right now. She was in Stigmata. The actress, I can't remember her name. Her sister was Roseanne, or whatever the song Roseanne was written for. Yes. Roseanne Arquette.
Yeah, Patricia.
Yeah, Patricia Arquette was his wife, and he was built then. He was in really good shape then. It was after they split up and stuff when he started losing weight.
When he did The Punisher, there's a scene where he draws back the string on that bow, and my girlfriend pretty much was like, yeah, let's go. I'm like, what? She's like, we need sex. I'm like, okay.
He didn't have any muscles.
He had plenty of muscles in
Oh,
the Punisher movie.
yeah.
Like he's at his peak fitness in that film.
Yeah,
I'll
because
say.
he pumped iron, just like Hugh Jackman does the same thing. You know, he gets in shape for the part because
Yeah.
normally he's slender.
Okay.
So,
On the Mads Mikkelsen was originally cast as Anzor the Duke Ugorski. Mads Mikkelsen would have been a good choice. I'm not gonna lie. One other thing, on the prescription bottles that Oleg pulls out, the child predator address is from Hansel. In the cautionary Brothers Grimm fable Hansel and Gretel, the children
yeah.
also barely escape the villain by outwitting them. Do we have any people here that like to use the word fuck? I'm just gonna say, if you like the word fuck, that word fuck is used 330 times in this movie.
Yeah, I can believe it. There was lots of cussing in this movie.
This movie is on track to beat Deadwood season 1. And that's one of my favorite TV shows. When Adele enters the security code at the front door of the apartment, the sound of the numbers pressed results in the first few bars of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Oh, that entire scene is just creepy as hell.
Yeah, it was. It was really creepy. The scene though, where I really got that like little tinge, that goes down your back of your spine, was when they opened the back of that van and she started talking to him. I was like, oh shit, this kid's in some deep doo-doo now. And then I saw the kids again in the backs of the van and I was like, oh yeah, this isn't good. And I was like, this poor kid can't get a break.
No, he can't. The medicine bottle is for Zelvirox, which is a medication used to treat cold sores and herpes. Kind of creepy. And
I didn't know. I wouldn't have known what it was for.
I only know that because I've dated a lot of women in Illinois. And my friend Abigail, who became my best friend after I found out some things, I'm like, okay, you're no longer in the date material book. We can be friends, and that's all you get. That's basically why. Nope, not getting that on me.
It's not worth it.
Had my angry dolphin.
It's too bad people don't normally talk about that stuff before they start jumping each other. It wouldn't be spreading so bad.
That's the thing. Communication's at a premium nowadays. You have to pay people to get them to respond to you on OnlyFans or Snapchat or on Twitter or whatever it is. It's just no. I'm so happy I'm married now. Mini comic book adaptation drawn by P.J. Lauren was included in the Region 1 DVD released by New Line Home Entertainment. It probably wouldn't be worth money, but it'd be fun to read. None of the Russian characters in this movie, by the way, are played by Russian actors. Carl Roden, who plays Anzor, is Czech. John Noble is Australian. And Ivana Mila is from Bosnia. So we got people that are kind of close, but no, they're not Russian. Oleg says he listens to Kavasha music, but that's not a direct reference to not only the music type, but Oleg Kavasha first played for the NHL team Florida Panthers back in '96. And the first name Oleg also happens to be his character's first name. So whenever they started piecing together the names on the script, you can see how this worked. There's been like 4 movies named Running Scared, by the way. None of them. This is a remake of none of them, and this will never be remade. They have too many fuck bombs, and they use the word faggot quite liberally at the ice rink.
Well, I wouldn't say this will never be remade because they remake stuff all the time that doesn't need to be remade.
True.
So I wouldn't say that. They would just make it woke You know what I mean?
True.
Where real Russians have to play the Russians, and you would, and in the strip bar, you'd have half of them being men, because it'd have to be gay. Everybody's gay.
Day 28 of being a girl.
So I'm just saying, they could remake this. You just don't want them to remake it because this is fine. This is the way it is. So
Hey, Grumpy, how you doing, sir? And just like how the Brits are cast for Romans.
yeah, that's a sad fact that they do, but hopefully they won't. That's all we can say.
Now, the main character's name, Joey Gazelle, played by Paul Walker, could be a direct reference to a graphic novel, Stray Bullets, where Joey Gazelle is a little kid in a criminal domestic environment. Be interesting if that kind of was true, but somebody did some digging. Hey, Joey Gazelle's in a book. It's about a kid in a domestic abuse environment. Huh.
Yep.
Then this is the second movie starring Cameron Bright to feature a clip of John Wayne getting shot. In Running Scared, the clip is from The Cowboys. In Thank You for Smoking, the clip is from The Sands of Iwo Jima, which is one of my favorite Wayne films. When asked about his sex scene with Vera, Paul Walker revealed there was no kind of prosthetic application on the actress's privates when he's working on down there. No, I just went for it. It looks like I was right in there, but I was just alongside it. I could have been, it could have been very uncomfortable, but it was the first day we were together. Vera and I had dinner in a group setting twice before. We knew this was required, so we went in and just had to make the best of it. She's attractive, so it's not like it's a bad deal for me. I think she is a woman. I would think it'd be much more difficult, good looking as she is. She's surrounded by the entire crew, which is male. The pressure was not on me as it was really on her. And she's a very confident actress. And in the extras on the DVD, I will say that Vera gets very descriptive with I don't know if I could ever act in a movie like this again where I have to grope Paul Walker's ass. And I have to squeeze it, and I have to make out with him. I don't know. This was just a hard movie to make. I mean, I want to feel him again. And this is in 2006 when they're filming all this stuff to cram it on DVD. So, he's kind of at the peak of his career, and she's got him just wrapped up in her arms. It's a good scene. It really does show the desperation that a young couple would have. When there's kids around, you got to sneak in your kisses when you can, and they get kind of go for it.
Yeah. Well, you got some company in your chat.
Uh-oh. Are they? Oh, yes. My favorite.
69 mega.
Oh, my God. I love these guys.
And they're Christmas colors, it looks like.
Grumpy came in, so I don't know if he's in here or not, but let me see.
Yeah, grumpy old ninja.
Looks like Grumpy's already taken him out.
Oh, really?
Uh-oh.
Nope.
We got one more. Trying.
There's 7 of them.
Jesus.
Oh, I gotta go take a sinus pill.
Okay, if you want to go do that, we're gonna switch gears here in just a second. This movie, we've almost gotten through the trivia, and I don't want to this is a interesting movie. The car for Tommy is a 1978 Chevrolet Camaro.
Yeah, it's nice.
Joey's car, he has a 67 Ford Mustang.
Uh-huh.
And here's the part that made me cry. It cost $15 million to produce, but it only made $9.4 million worldwide on the theatrical release.
It only cost $15 million to produce it?
Prague. That's all I'm going to say, Janet.
Okay, I know, but that's shocking because it just seemed like it would cost a lot more than that, at least triple that.
This movie was made in 2005, and that's 17 years ago. And apparently, you could get a lot more for your dollar back then.
Yep.
Crazy,
For
isn't
sure.
it? Go ahead and grab your meds if you need to.
No, it's all right. I'll,
Okay.
I'll take a pill when I'm done.
Oh,
It's in
man,
pill form.
listen to that. I have to go off screen when I go pick up Chinese at the door. Janet, she just powers right through it. She's like, I'm a woman.
Well, I'm stuffed up. I can barely breathe right now, but see, I'm stuffed up really bad, but it's all right.
Thank you for smashing the bots. Appreciate your services to us. You guys are awesome. 69mega.com. 84% have already found love with us. What about the other 16? Okay.
They're still hanging out.
Yeah, they're still there waiting for you to swipe right. What are you thinking about doing for next week, Janet? What's your movie?
Well, after doing all the horror sci-fi for the month of October, and then this real action-packed, grown-up movie, I think that I would like to try a comedy.
Okay.
And I would like to watch Major Payne.
Major Payne.
Mm-hmm. With Damon Wayans. So that's what I was going to do. I was going to try to have you see if you could play the trailer or whatever. I thought that'd be cool if we started playing the trailer for the movie. If you're allowed to. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to play a trailer. I mean, that's what they're on here for people to watch them.
It gets dicey when we have millions and millions of views. I mean, the Dungeons and Dragons trailer nailed everybody that showed it off.
Really?
Yep.
So stupid.
I know. So
you're going to get people to come and put button in the seat to watch your movie or pay for it or whatever, then you'd think that they would be appreciative for that. But yeah, that's the movie I would like to watch.
Okay.
Do a review on.
One
of my mother's favorite movies.
It sounds like a good plan. It's a Nick Castle direction with Damon Wayans, Michael Ironside, and Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yep. It's pretty good. It's a good movie. I think it's a good movie. Have you seen it?
Years and years and years ago. Yeah. And Bam Bam died in 2007. Holy cow.
Yeah.
I did not realize that.
But yeah, it's a funny movie, and it's got, it's got a lot of action in it, and I just think it'd be funny. We need a little bit of a comic break in here.
Sure.
I think. So that's the one I've chose to watch.
I'm looking forward to it. For everybody here, Janet, we will be back in 2 weeks and be discussing the movie Major Payne. I hope everybody is ready for this, because it is definitely going to be a little bit more lighthearted than what we watched tonight, which was stressful as hell.
Yeah, I was crying my eyes out. It was really good. It's a good movie, though.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for showing up tonight, and we will see you again at the balcony next Monday at 19:30 Central Standard. Off we go.